Yum has more than 37,000 restaurants in over 117 countries. Along with China, the group sees Africa as the next frontier. Buntu Williams sat down with Bruce Layzell, who is GM of Yum Group Africa Markets, and started off by asking him about his own growth in the company.
Well, I mean, I always say to my children, what do you know when you're 18 about what you want to do later on in life? So I started out in the construction industry. I then moved across to Vodacom to build their infrastructure, their towers, etc. And through that process, I got selected into the Vodafone's Global Leadership Program, which saw me go across to the UK on a secondment, do an MBA. But I was in an operations environment and looking to come back to South Africa. And there was a position available with Yum Restaurants. And when I had a look at what a great company they were, the size and their global reach, I thought this is somebody who I wanted to work for. And if you have the business skills, you can apply them to any industry, and that's what I'm doing here now.
Well, like you're saying, even when you were at Vodacom out there, you always wanted to come back to South Africa. What is it about the environment in South Africa that made you want to come back?
Africa and South Africa is an exciting place. There's a lot of opportunity here. There's a lot of opportunity for young people to get involved in serious business early on in their careers. And I think that's always an attraction. In Europe, in the US, there's a lot of other people vying for positions, etc. So I'm not saying it's easier back here, but there's certainly the opportunity to show yourself earlier in your career, I believe.
I see your company is taking great strides to take over opportunity across Africa. I mean, Yum wants 1,000 restaurants here within the next 5 years or so, and they plan to increase their revenue to about $2 billion. How do you really plan to do that in Africa? Because it's not quite the homogeneous sort of continent it is, isn't it?
Absolutely, and as I always say, Africa is not a country. It's currently 55 countries. But we've been in Africa for 40 years. We've got a 40-year-old business here in South Africa. We've been in the SADC countries for the last 7 to 10 years. So a lot of that learning is helping us go into the rest of Africa. And there's massive opportunity there. I mean, every single report that you open from the big 5 accounting firms, McKinsey's, et cetera, is all saying opportunity is in Africa. There's all this growing middle class, the population is growing, wealth is growing, etc. And we want to make sure that we get in early and take advantage of that.
You're one of the few global companies that have taken bold steps into Africa. What's really informing that? I hear about the studies that you are seeing from all the research companies, all the business intelligence, but what is driving your strategy into Africa?
Well, there's 1 billion people in Africa. I would say that their protein of choice is chicken anyway. We believe that we've got the best chicken, and that as the real fundamental business proposition is what the opportunity is. We want to go and sell people chicken. People have disposable income out there, and we believe that there's a real viable proposition for us to offer them great chicken and make money out of it.
I think, a lot of the talk about and the promise about the African consumer may at times be a little exaggerated, considering that a lot of them are just people emerging from joblessness and getting into sort of the striving section where people are beginning to earn some income. The populations are still young. The population still earn very little at the moment. Only the middle class seem to be going up. Don't you have any apprehensions about this consumer boom in Africa?
So, absolutely. I think everybody is talking about the opportunity and saying there's this, 1 billion people, wealth is increasing, go, go, go. We need to temper that with the reality of doing business on the continent. It is a difficult place to do business.
What have been the specific challenges for you?
Infrastructure is a very important one. So power, water, 2 important aspects of our business. Infrastructure to get our material around all of our stores, to allow consumers to get to our stores. These are all things which complicate business there. There's also a lot of bureaucracy. Remember, we are dealing with 55 different governments with different sets of rules, different trade laws, etc. So bureaucracy creates a lot of drag on how quickly you can get into the country and have success.
Now, one of the things, of course, we talk about a lot in Africa is regional integration. We talk very much about harmonization of policies, harmonization of trade policy, movement of goods, and so on. What is it you would like to see if you were to speak to a government or to a president? What is it you would want to see happen first? What is the biggest priority for you in that?
Funnily enough, I've just come back from the World Economic Forum on Africa in Ethiopia, and I had the privilege of sitting at a table with President Goodluck Jonathan from Nigeria. And we discussed this very point, that at the moment you've got all these great economic groupings, ECOWAS, SADC, etc. And they're great on paper. But on the ground, for the businesses actually trying to make use of them and gain benefit from them, it's still a very difficult process. The freedom of movement of goods, of people is still very difficult. It's still restrictive. Again, at the World Economic Forum, there was a lot of talk around making sure that these things work. And I think the governments of Africa understand that it's an imperative that these groupings start to work for the people in those environments and to benefit the people of Africa.
Do you think business is actually taking aggressive steps to get governments to actually pay attention? Because I think we've been talking this since the beginning since the 50s, since the formation of the AU, since the formation of every other multilateral body in Africa.
Well, you know, it's difficult to go and knock on government's door all the time and say, change, change, change. I think you need to be actively involved in those economies before they're going to start to listen to you. So I don't think they want a whole lot of outsiders coming in and telling them you need to change. It will be great, and this is certainly our approach. Let's get involved in the economy. Let's build a business in the economy. Let us show them that we're having some success in their markets, and they'll start to engage with us, and they'll start to listen to us.